Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. It's the hardest. Talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what heart is. Standing strong and proud, nothing can knock it. Let's get it started. Yeah,
get your boots ready. We're about to go on a trip where we wrestle, nobody settling or calling it quits. You're here for the grit, bet you this stuff is amazing. You're stumbling, welcome to the bump in the apron. Step into it, the hardest part of the ring. Here to bring fun, yeah, and this art he's king. It's the best thing, making sure you don't tap out. Don't go soft with the hardest podcast out. And it's not just another one, it's clear. Off the rest, in this content, none contest. Take the nonsense off the steps. You know it's nothing but pure gems when it's coming off the chest. Get it? Now it's time to sit and relax. Get your mind blown away, ain't no skipping this track. Have you paying more attention, no listening gap. Get everything I ever wanted, no giving it back.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Apron Bump Podcast. I am your host, the hardest part of the ring. To repeat, I am the hardest part of the ring. Nobody else. I am the hardest part of the ring. But anyways, we got some Extreme Championship Wrestling on the way today. What show are we covering? Well, I'll take a deep breath before this one. ECW, Barbed Wire, Hoodies, and Chokeslams 1995. Wow. What a mouthful. But that being said, we have a hilarious episode for you today. Both because of the show that we're talking about, the show that we're recapping, and the guests that I had on today. But Barbed Wire, Hoodies, and Chokeslams. I have never heard of this show. I saw this on the list of shows that have happened and was like, is that a real show? Or is this a, what is this, like a, hold on. I have a funny joke. Barbed Wire, Hoodies, and Chokeslams. Is that a wrestling show or like a store name? Well, I'll workshop that and edit something funnier in post. But yeah, like I said, I've never heard of this show. But that being said, lots of major happenings on this show in the middle of 1995. We got the debut of Francine. We have the debut of New Jack and Mustafa. We have Gangrel making Gangrel. What? But he's here as the Vampire Warrior. Gangrel is, and yeah, it feels like an acid trip watching what's happening on this show. But really interesting show to watch, but a really fun show to talk about with my. Oh, by the way, I almost forgot. I just fucking almost glazed over the Barbed Wire main event. It's a barbed wire match for the ECW World Title. Cactus Jack versus Sandman. Yes, this feud continuing on from the past few shows. But now we take off the ring ropes and replace them with barbed wire. The more famous one, I think, is the one in 97, I believe. I could be wrong on the year. Go fuck yourself if I am. But Sabu versus Terry Funk that happened in ECW. That's the one that I think everybody thinks about. This one, I think, goes under the radar for most people. Sandman versus Cactus Jack. So, insanity from start to finish. I mean, the show starts out with the hockey mascots fighting. You got debuts, you got WWF people there, and now we got people mutilating each other with barbed wire to close out the show. So it's a journey, it's a roller coaster. But to join me on this roller coaster of a show are Jacob and Javon from the Hardest Part of the Ring podcast. That's right. The hardest part of the ring is joining the hardest part of the ring on the Apron Bump to talk about fucking Gangrel. I know this is what you all wanted. So who's harder between us two? I guess I'll let you guys be the judge of that. But yes, Javon, Jacob, and their host Teron Bishop, who was unable to join us on this episode, but we'll get him on a future episode for sure. Really entertaining guys. They have a great podcast. Really entertaining group of guys over there. So go check them out. The Hardest Part of the Ring podcast. They cover current day wrestling, some of the highlights, the other scuttlebutt, backstage news, predictions, stuff like that. Really entertaining group of guys, and you'll tell that by listening to this episode. So that's the Hardest Part of the Ring podcast, wherever you listen to podcasts. So to really confuse your podcast feed there. But with that being said, let's get to it. ECW, Barbed Wire, Hoodies, and Chokeslams, 1995, with myself and Jacob and Javon from the Hardest Part of the Ring podcast. So speaking of your podcast, I'm curious to know, how did you guys come up with the Hardest Part of the Ring name?
So honestly, so what happened was one of our former he's still around from time to time, but our original Mark, his name is his name's Keith, and originally our podcast was the brainchild of them two. And then I kind of stumbled in because I was in college at the time and I was studying audio production and studying broadcast journalism and everything. And next thing you know, I had to come up with kind of like a senior project, kind of like a, hey, show us, kind of like a showcase type deal. And they had approached me and they were like, hey, we want to do this podcast, about pro wrestling. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. I love pro wrestling, that kind of deal. And they were like, we already got the name. We already got all this stuff planned out and everything. And I was like, okay, cool. So what's the name? And they were like, well, it's basically Adam Cole or Michael Cole's catchphrase, slammed into the hardest part of the ring. And the next thing magic happens. And here we are. Man.
And then we're here. That's because the reason I asked is because the way my podcast started out, it actually started out with an Instagram. So before I was doing any podcasts, I had a wrestling Instagram dedicated to wrestling. And it was like off the fly. I was like, yeah, I'll make an Instagram. What do I call it? And the Hardest Part of the Ring came to mind because it's just a funny thing. Like it's kind of an inside jokey thing, but you can tell it's about wrestling. So I was like, yeah, whatever. I thought about it for like 20 seconds. I was like, whatever. This is my Instagram. So it was the Hardest Part of the Ring was my Instagram. And then like a month later, I was like, you know what? Let's start a podcast. And I'm like, well, I kind of have a bit of a following on my Instagram, so I might as well just carry that name over into a podcast. So I was like, yeah, but first, let's see if there's another podcast that already has that name. And then lo and behold, they're right in my backyard. These motherfuckers already took the name. It's like, whatever. I'm never gonna listen to these guys. Hey, they took my name. And then I like stumbled upon you guys, whatever it was, like a month or two ago, and I'm like, Virginia Beach, because you like said something about going to the AEW show, right?
Right. Yeah.
Or was it SmackDown, or did you guys go to both as well?
Well, we went to both, but I think that we first had our first interaction due to the AEW show. So I think that's where it was.
Okay. Yeah, because I went to both too. I don't know. There's a lot of people, obviously. So
right. The AEW show was packed. Like it was a lot of people compared to SmackDown. I don't think we talk about that. So
which show did you guys enjoy more, the SmackDown or the AEW Dynamite Rampage? Or I guess it was like four shows, but
I know I can't speak for Javon, but the 4.5 hours of Dynamite and Rampage were my favorite part of those two shows by far. But Javon's kind of a Roman Reigns simp, so
there were a lot of ones in the air that night.
Oh, we were there too. We had our ones.
4 hours is way too long, y'all. Like,
yeah. No, yeah, I kind of agree. I mean, I feel like the energy. I mean, both crowds I think were hot. I feel like Norfolk, like this area, for whatever reason, has hot crowds generally for that type of stuff. Maybe it's because they don't come here like super often, whatever it is. But it was a cool experience. It's a cool experience. But yeah. So a stark contrast though to current day wrestling is ECW, Barbed Wire, Hoodies, and Chokeslams. Did you guys both get a chance to watch the show?
Oh, for sure. We were just talking about it when I was watching it, just to have some notes for the pod and everything.
Yeah.
And Javon and I were just talking about the main event, off and on, because I hadn't really seen Sandman like that before. Like not in the idea of his action, but just kind of shirtless, but then also with like the Lex Luger's little brother get up. And I was just like, okay, great.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, you should have seen him before that gimmick change. Oh man, the surfer outfit. Oh man.
I don't think
he had like a Sting thing going.
Yeah,
really?
He was a surfer. He used to come out with a surfboard and everything. He was the surfing dynamic dude.
So he was the surfer version of Cora Jade?
Yeah.
So you're telling me he can't surf and he just carries the surfboard and runs around the ring?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Wait, hold on. You're blowing my mind right now. Is that why his name's Sandman?
No way.
There you go. There you go. You hit it. You hit it.
No.
I will never look at this man the same way.
There it is.
Oh my God. Paulie, come on.
Yeah, like that whole Enter Sandman stuff did not start until they ditched the whole surfer crap.
Right.
Oh my gosh.
All this time I thought they were just like, wow, this Metallica song's cool. Let's just make a guy that's named that. But lo and behold, we have Sting Jr.
No.
Lex Loser, am I right, gang? Huh? Who's with me?
Oh my God.
But God, yeah, that main event was insane. I can't wait to talk about that. But I guess just first, before we get into like the matches, any like general thoughts on what we witnessed here with this show?
I mean, I love old ECW stuff because it's so funny to see like guys that were presented in my original like wrestling run, kind of like as like a kid and stuff, kind of as like less than like mid card to nothing kind of thing, just in their full element, just going crazy. Like you watch this 95 show, and of course you compare Tommy Dreamer then to Tommy Dreamer in like circa 2009, where he's just doing bumps on ECW sci-fi, and you're like, oh, what I mean? Like just disappointing. Then you see him in this show, and you're like, oh my God, this guy was crazy over, and he had such a cool look. Like it was just so different.
Yeah, like that's like going back and watching this is like it's crazy to see like a lot of these guys, like seeing Gangrel out there.
That was crazy.
And seeing what he's doing is like, damn. Like you didn't get to see a lot of this in WWF. Like
right. It was kind of similar in some ways, but also very different. But we'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, so I guess I should have asked, were you guys familiar with this era of ECW, or like did you follow it, or have you like gone back and watched a lot of this stuff, or are you kind of coming into this like pretty cold?
I grew up with this.
Yeah.
So I remember watching a lot of this like as it happened, on like syndication, and getting the episodes out here on like a Sunday morning after Superstars. You're not gonna watch ECW,
right?
So that's how I pretty much got into it.
Yeah, so you don't associate it with like Marcus Corvon and Ezekiel Jackson and who else? Jamie Noble.
We don't respect that one right there. Nah.
We don't talk about that.
We don't talk about that.
That never happened.
Oh, come on, guys. There were some bright spots. You had Kofi Kingston's Jamaican debut. You had Matt Hardy's reprise and probably the biggest he was ever going to be in that company at the time.
Yep.
Then you had Christian's comeback. Like, it's great. Come on.
There were some bright spots.
And I also got Matt Stryker in his sweater vest.
Okay, yes. We're moving on.
Right.
You're done. You're done.
Want to be Undertaker? Who was the vampire? It was a vampire.
Kevin Thorne.
And at least they had girls stripping, so I'll give them that much. Like,
hey. Sold, right?
Their women's division was just Kelly. Like, what are we talking about?
Yeah.
The women's division. Yeah, it was. God, who was it? It was like Mike Knox was there, and like him and Kelly were dating, and then CM Punk was like,
man.
"Nay, you're mean to her." And that's what women were.
Yeah, basically. Oh gosh. I came into this show pretty cold, honestly, like with 95. I've watched a ton of different matches from ECW throughout my time, like I should say throughout their time. Like old fat, like the Sabu early stuff, in the in the Coliseum, but I never watched this pay-per-view, for instance. And
Mhm.
I was anytime you get a main event like that, I'm just sold. Like, I love hardcore stuff. I love death matches. I was fortunate enough to see the lights out match for Kenny and John Moxley in person at that Full Gear pay-per-view.
Really?
And like from that point on, I went on this deep dive of just like hardcore matches like that. And I of course you stumble on ECW and it's just, that's where it is. That's where it lives. Like, it's so sick.
Yeah. I mean, there's no, piranha fish tank matches or exploding alligator matches, but you got Sandman ripping his shirt off in barbed wire. So that's something.
That's all you need. Come on, guys.
That's what the people come to see. I mean, but yeah, like you, I've never heard of the show. My history in watching ECW is pretty much just anything that's on like a highlight DVD, like the best of kind of deal. And nothing on this show. I mean, maybe the main event is noteworthy. There's actually, you know what? I take that back. There's actually a lot of noteworthy stuff that happens on this show, but a lot of it is like seeds that are getting planted for the future. A lot of debuts and stuff. A lot of like storyline pivots and stuff like that. And you brought up Gangrel. I was like, what the hell's Gangrel doing here? But but yeah, in that instance, there's a lot going on in this show. But starting it off hot, we got the Broad Street Bully versus the New Jersey Devil. Yeah, you guys hockey fans?
Not really. I mean, I'll go, like, I'll watch games, but not really. Like, I can't even tell you the last time I went to an Admirals game.
Right. How about you, Javon? Are you a pucker?
I actually like the Rangers.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm a Rangers fan. So now, if you ask me like what's icing, couldn't tell you.
Right. So the Bully here, the crowd's hot for the Bully because obviously they're in Philly, and they hate the Devil because he's New Jersey, and I guess fuck New Jersey people. So it's a hockey. It's a dumb little. I don't even know if it's like technically the first match or if it's like a pre-show thing, but the match starts. Both guys have hockey gloves on. They throw them down like a hockey fight, and they just start punching each other. Ultimately, the Bully just punches them into submission and pins them. So the Broad Street Bully gets the win here. But that's not the story. The story is what happens afterwards, because the Paul E and 911 come out, and they say that the New Jersey Devil is skating on thin ice. Hockey. So what happens? Well, 911 gives the New Jersey Devil a choke slam, and the crowd loves it. One more time chant. So he gives him a second choke slam, like a big show like choke slam. And then a third choke slam. And then Paul E grabs the mic, and you can't really hear a lot of what he's saying because it's 1995 ECW. But the gist of it, he's like, we've never seen 4 choke slams in one night. And the crowd's like, yeah, let's see another one. They'll watch. I was convinced this crowd would have been fine just to watch this guy get choke slammed for 3 hours. But gives them a fourth choke slam, a record-setting fourth choke slam. So that's what starts off the show: a hockey fight followed by some choke slams. Thoughts?
How else would you want to open the show? I mean, let's be honest. Like they're in Philly, which is a hockey town. The Devils just won, if I remember. Yeah, the Devils just won the Stanley Cup, so they're in this. And of course, the Flyers and the Devils, I believe, are in the same division. So obviously, like, they hate each other. And then this guy just gets choke slammed the shit out of, and it's great. And of course, you get Paulie Dangerously doing his thing and everything. But I had a question for Javon, given that he watched this, grew up with this stuff. Was that 911's gimmick just go in, choke slam, and leave?
Yes, because of the name 911. So whenever somebody gets in trouble, the crowd calls 911, and he comes out, choke slams them, and he's out.
That's a great gimmick for the eventual Wardlow face turn. That would be the perfect gimmick for him.
Yes. Dude, I hope they don't hear this, because that's going to be tonight if they hear this. It's going to be like his area code or something instead of 911.
Yeah, right.
I'm like half joking. That sounds like something they would do. But
Tony loves ECW, man.
Yeah. You know, we're kind of joking about it, but I bet you that 911 is a huge influence on like the idea of Wardlow and his like gimmick, I guess you would say. Just come in, do his move a bunch of times, and then leave.
Yeah.
But it works. I mean, the crowd loves it for whatever reason. It's just so ridiculous and so redundant that it's like, oh man, he's not going to do it again. And then he does it again. And it's like, wow, EC Dub.
It becomes that Simpsons meme where he's poking him. He's like, he's already dead.
Yeah. Oh man. But the hits just keep on coming. So after that, we have it's Mikey Whipwreck versus Val Puccio. Is it Puccio? Is that how you pronounce it?
Yeah, Puccio.
So I'm not familiar with Val Puccio, but this dude is a large boy. He's as wide as he is tall, this Val. Like legit, I think the comments, I think Joey Styles said he's over 500 pounds, which I believe. A heavy lad. But the crowd, they give it to him. I think there's like a "you can't walk" chant or something. It's kind of hard to hear. That's how I interpreted it. But as far as the match goes, you have Val out there with his ponytail, his bald. It was like a bald head but a ponytail. It was kind of badass, actually.
Like Paul Heyman now.
Yeah, exactly. But here's the match. You ready? Mikey Whipwreck punches Val in the penis 5 or 6 times and then DDTs him for the win. 5 stars, 6 stars? What are we thinking here?
Oh God, let's see. I mean, that's on par with Okada Omega 2. How else do you chop down a tree, or in this case, a brick wall?
Right.
I mean, that's what I would do if I was facing this guy. I was like, "What else you gonna suplex them?" No.
Right. I agree though. This crowd was giving Val everything and nothing at the same time. Like he had such like heel heat for just being fat. Like they literally yelled. They kept like,
yeah.
Like I was like, damn, you know. But this kind of set the tone for the night. To be honest with you, a ton of low blows in this pay-per-view.
Oh yeah, that's their thing.
Yeah.
I'd hate to work for this company. Your genitals just getting assaulted every night.
It's the Shinsuke Nakamura wet dream back in the day.
I miss that. I miss low blow Nakamura.
I never want to see that guy again. Please.
Neither does AJ Styles.
Right.
But yeah. Any other thoughts on this?
Yeah, Javon. So, like, do you remember Whipwreck at all? Like, was he just kind of like a stalwart there at ECW? Like was he just kind of like their, not like in a technical sense, but was he like a Gargano figure, like just like a constant face kind of a thing?
Yeah, he was their cult hero. For real. Like, I know people say like Tommy and everything, but it's like Mikey was like, because he was so small, he was like one of them. You know what I'm saying? He's like a little kid for real. When you like go back and watch, he looks like a kid. So he was one of theirs, and he was just like the consummate like babyface underdog.
Right. Yeah.
And so they rode that and pushed them to the world title, which is fucking crazy that it actually worked. Like, yeah, it wasn't until like later in ECW where he got crazy that they turned him heel and shit. But by that time he was older and crap, so I guess it worked. It could work.
That gets you heat if you're just old.
Like,
if you're fat or old.
Okay, you're old. You're not young anymore, buddy.
Yeah, Mikey, I'm trying to think of like a modern day like comparison. Maybe like a Leon Ruff, who was like very small and like of underdog, who you don't think,
yeah, like if they take Leon Ruff and put him on the main roster and eventually push them to the world title, that's Mikey Whipwreck.
You have Leon Ruff beat Roman Reigns, and then there we go. Hey.
Oh my God.
It's never too late.
Hey,
always
Mikey beat Steve Austin, so hey.
Oh God.
Damn it.
Lots of people beat Steve Austin back then, to be fair. Fucking Jim Duggan beat Steve Austin in like 5 seconds. So like stunning Steve Austin, like I could beat stunning Steve Austin. Let's be real. Any of us could.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you somebody that neither of us could beat. It's the Shah of ECW, Hackmeyers, versus the Vampire Warrior. Whew.
It's a great name. It's right to the point.
No room for misinterpretation. It's right there. It's a warrior. He's also a vampire. That's what you get. I guess, man, this vampire thing for old, what's his real name? God, it's like slipping my mind. Doesn't matter. Gangrel is his real name. Let's just say that. Yeah. But I guess it's not a gimmick. A vampire it's a lifestyle. I think he has the fangs in at this point. I don't know if they're the real ones. I know he would eventually get real ones. I don't know if these are fake ones or not, but yeah, he's here. But this is before his WWF run. I had no idea that Gangrel was in ECW, but it was a sight to see. It was like because he's still a vampire, but it's almost more like it's like less demonic and more like rock and roll vampire, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
that's how I got it.
He's almost like the male version of Luna Vachon, if you had to like visualize it.
Funny fact
wow.
about her. She comes to play a lot in this show.
She does. Yeah, a little foreshadowing. I wasn't sure if they were, because I knew at one point Gangrel and Luna were together. I didn't know if they were at this point. It seems like they were.
So they actually were married in real life in '94. That's what I came to find out.
Okay.
So when the commentators are like, that's his woman, I'm kind of like, yeah, kind of
makes sense. It's his woman. Yeah. It's a very general way to put it, but that damn Joey Styles. But so yeah, we got the Vampire Warrior versus Hackmeyers. You guys familiar with Hackmeyers? The Shah?
I hadn't really heard much of him or seen much of him before this, so it was fun. It was cool. He seems like he's over as a baby face and stuff.
He is so over. Yeah, it's ridiculous.
He was and like he really wasn't that good.
How dare you? He's the Shah.
I'm sorry. Had my Tony Khan moment for a second, but
watch Rampage tonight.
Yeah.
But like he was so over with everybody. Like every time he just throws a punch, everybody cheers. It's like, well, damn. Like,
yeah,
that's all it takes. Okay.
Didn't take a lot of work in 1995. You didn't have to do Canadian destroyers to get over. All you had to do is make a noise and wear ridiculous like sweatpants and shave half your head, and then you're a star.
It was a much simpler time.
It was, yeah. And I've talked about it before and watching these shows. I had never heard of Hackmeyers until going back and watching these, like at all. Like you hear, even if you didn't watch ECW, you know who Sandman is, you know who Sabu is. Hackmeyers, who the hell is Hackmeyers? But apparently he was a big deal. He was a phenomenon in the mid 90s. Yeah. But I don't know how much longer it lasts. And it seems like almost this is like where the downslope starts because like I said, it's the Vampire Warrior versus Hackmeyers. Not a ton to the match. You see Vampire do like a cross body from the top rope to the outside onto Hack. So you got old Gangrel moving pretty well here. David Heath, that's his real name. You got old Big Dave boy.
Oh, yeah.
Moving around really well. And then ultimately he hits the DDT, which I think you would eventually call the Impaler. I don't know if he was calling it that at this point, but the Impaler DDT onto Hackmeyers for the win. And, if you're just coming into this cold, you might be like, wow, who cares about that? But Hackmeyers doesn't lose. at this point. I mean, like we say, he's a big he's the Undertaker of 1995. Let me tell you, this guy, this is truly a WrestleMania 30 moment. You have the Vampire Warrior comes in, beats Hackmeyers, and then I don't know how long Vampire stays around, or if he does at all, or if it was just a one-off. But yeah, kind of a rough match. But what'd you guys think about it?
Yeah, it was rough, all right. Like, man, like, I mean, it won't because of the Vampire Warrior though. He tried. Like,
yeah,
it's true. Yeah,
he tried. Like, once you get past Hack's punches, it ain't much left.
Right.
Really
yeah. Gangrel was doing his thing, but let's be honest though, that's pretty good booking. I mean, you have this Vampire Warrior not debut, but you have him starting out. He gets a big win over a face. Now you've established him as a future heel player, and then he comes out and does some more crazy shit later on.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, don't worry, folks. We're not done with the Vampire Warrior by any means. So after that, it's almost like a prelude to his main deal here. So after that, it cuts to Tommy Dreamer and Stevie Richards, like going back and forth. They're like ringside, yelling at each other about something. And this is during the whole feud with you have Dreamer versus Raven, basically, and you have the whole Beulah McGillicuddy storyline element, how they were all like they knew each other in summer camp, whatever. And Tommy didn't like her because she was fat, and now she's pretty. And now Raven has Beulah. I don't know how Tommy's supposed to be the babyface here, but whatever. I guess, in 1995, that's a babyface. This is a crowd that was yelling at a guy for being fat and old, but
right.
And Stevie Richards. So there's like this whole, I don't know if it's the flock, but it might as well be. It's Raven, Stevie Richards, the Pitbulls, and Beulah. So you got Richards out there basically representing Raven, going back and forth with Tommy Dreamer. And apparently Stevie, he thinks that the Vampire Warrior now is a part of that faction. But the Vampire says, hey, no, I just came here to make sure that Tommy got his hands off my woman. His woman being Luna Vachon. And for context, the last show that ECW put on is where Luna debuted. And she debuted in the main event to help save Tommy Dreamer. And so Tommy and Luna were in the ring. They cleaned house, and then they just made out in the middle of the ring. Because that's what we do here. And so I guess she's cheating on Gangrel with Tommy Dreamer. What a love triangle we got here. It's colorful, but so that's why Vampire Warrior is here to, I guess, get revenge on Tommy for this. But Luna, apparently, I don't know who she's supposed to be siding with, because it seems like she's more leaning towards Tommy here, because Vampire Warrior, this is like all before the match. Vampire Warrior and Tommy Dreamer are kind of going at it, but then Luna hits Warrior in the back with a steel chair. So, but Vampire completely no-sells it and just continues on. But I guess we have a match now. The Vampire Warrior versus Tommy Dreamer. So we got Vampire doing double duty here. But so they fight in the aisleway. It's very ECW. It's very like, yeah, let's fight in the crowd. Let's fight by the barricades. I think at one point they even like go backstage or something. Classic ECW type stuff. You have Dreamer getting weapons from the crowd. I always love that. People bring like skillets and
yes, the frying pan, dude.
Yeah.
The frying pan. Yes.
Dude, class. What other weapons did they? I forget that the crowd like gave Tommy in this match. Do you remember?
The frying pan was one. I think, of course, they were fighting with beer cans. He's throwing trash at him. I remember that. And then I can't remember, was there a trash can spot? I cannot remember. I don't think there
probably was. But the thing I love about
something
ECW trash can spots, like in WWE, it's just like an empty trash can, like a new trash can. But in ECW, it's like one that's being used, that's like full of trash, full of like dip, spit, and condoms or whatever people are throwing away at these shows.
Right.
So yeah, and I think there is like steel crowbar is probably, I don't know, but there's tons of weapons, very ECW. But eventually
there was that steel bar too, right?
I think
was that
so.
later on in the main event?
Yeah, no, there was a steel bar. I remember that.
It all kind of blurs together.
Yeah, because it's just a plethora of different items, and you're like, where are these things coming
Yeah.
So good. So good.
Like the mindset you have to be in. All right, I got my ticket to go see some wrestling. Wait, before we go, what do I have around that I don't care about that can get bashed over somebody's head?
Mom, I'm bringing the spatula.
Jacob, I keep buying spatulas. You keep taking them.
Yeah, right. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then, of course, like, you get the blood spots, and you're like, yeah, it's just a matter of time. Like, you're just waiting because it's ECW. Like, you're just waiting and waiting. Oh, I love it.
Yeah. And then, like you said, Dreamer finally gets a skillet or a frying pan and clocks the vampire in the penis with it several times. It's a theme. It's a theme, like you said. Hits him in the face with it too. A bulldog on the concrete, but ultimately back in the ring. They finally get back to the ring. Dreamer has like a steel chair set up, and he does like a step up DDT, which is pretty fun. Onto Gangrel, and that gives Tommy Dreamer the win. So both guys are bloody. Yeah, so the love triangle continues, I guess. What do you guys think about this whole deal?
It was fun. It's fun, and that's all that matters. Like, if I'm going to an ECW show, I want to have fun, and sure enough, that's what they gave us. You know, crowd battles, blood spots, different things, and of course, it ends with a DDT, and you're just like, okay, cool. Like, it's to be expected, but it's also kind of funny to see how these, crowd brawls have kind of evolved, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because in 95, you get this where it's kind of like a path, like you go around and then you end up back in the ring, and it's great because in the meantime, you interact with the fans, do all this stuff.
Yeah.
While now, because of the freedoms, I think that were awarded back in the 90s with crowd brawls, now you don't get that as much, especially with WWE. Like, anything with a WWE crowd spot, there are like tons of guards that are out there making sure nobody can get involved or do anything. And fans are more focused on getting selfies now than anything else anyway. Yeah. But like, even looking at like the Shield's entrances, like you have like guys posted all down the stairs to make sure that nobody in the crowd messes with them. And even at AEW, like you get some more interaction, sure, like when Moxley comes out, but when it comes to the physical fighting themselves in there, there's always like a barrier set up, that kind of thing. And it's just interesting to see like what 20 years difference makes practically.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, we didn't care back then. We just rode through the crowd, like, you get in the way, hey. Yes. What are you gonna do, sue us? Out of here.
The fans love it. The fans love it when blood splatters all over their shirts. I had a previous guest on to cover another ECW show, and they still own a shirt that has like somebody's blood on it. It's like a white T-shirt. It's like that's
so sick.
Which I would love.
For sure. That's awesome.
Just don't. You might want to get tested after it, but
Well, yeah.
For the experience, I guess. But yeah. So classic ECW there. But speaking of classic ECW, we got maybe one of the best heels in ECW history here, Bill Alfonso. He's he's newly introduced at this point. And I think it's the whole deal is he's like the Bill Alfonso's the senior official. Is that right, Javon? Is that his title? Or like the commissioner or
like so what he basically was he's a referee that they brought in, and he tries to act like he runs the place. So he literally comes in here and just starts now enforcing all these different rules and crap that try to make it more like the WWF.
Yeah, right.
So he instantly becomes the biggest heel ever.
That's a great way to put it. I never really thought of it like that, but that makes sense. But yeah, he's like, he's brought in, and there's like this whole power struggle between Bill Alfonso and Todd Gordon, who at least on screen, Todd Gordon is the owner. I think Paul Heyman had taken over at this point, but Todd is like the visual representation of that on screen as a character. So Bill's like, hey, I tell you what to do. And then Todd is like, no, you don't. And then there's like a pull apart between the two. It's pretty funny.
Let them fight. Let them fight.
Here's a skillet, Todd. But
yes.
but yeah, would you agree? I guess maybe Javon. I don't know if you both guys would be able to know, but is Bill Alfonso the best heel in ECW history?
Oh shit.
Or at least maybe like top 3, top 5.
Oh, he's definitely top 3. He might just be because like everybody just hated him. Mm-hmm. Like it was just like a straight up hate, and then once it gets even worse down the line where he gets somebody to manage. And now it's like, oh, now I'm gonna talk my shit, and you can't beat me up now because you got to get through him. It's like
because that's what I think about when I think of Bill Alfonso is the whistle, the hat. But here is like kind of like a precursor to that, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, he represents sports entertainment, and that is very much not what the crowd wants, because it's either right before this or right after this is when they had King of the Ring 95. And I watched that show pretty recently, and there are a lot of ECW chants on that show. So
right.
the divide is very clear. ECW is making a name for itself, but so good little planting seeds for the future for Bill Alfonso there. But speaking about ECW, WWF, and even WCW and how they all interact, we got a representation of that here with Jim Steele. What's your guys' favorite Jim Steele match?
It's not so much a match as it is a mistaking Ultimate Warrior for Jim Steele and pretending like, oh, I met him in the parking lot. I met Warrior in the parking lot. That was where my mind went the entire time. I was like, bro, where did they get this guy for the Great Value Ultimate Warrior? What are we doing?
Just a guy that's vaguely jacked and has long hair. So yeah, you're the Ultimate Warrior, I guess.
I love it though. And then of course, oh God. Oh jeez. I'm sorry, Kyle. You go.
No.
I'm getting ahead of myself.
No, because there's a lot of meat on this bone. Let me tell you. Let me ask you guys a question. I don't know how familiar you guys are with WCW back in the day.
Oh, this is Javon's favorite thing. He loves old crap. WCW.
Get the fuck out of here.
No. Listen, Javon. The word on the street is that you're a huge fan of the Renegade. Are you familiar with the Renegade? Yeah, he is.
Real talk, like I was so mad it wasn't the Ultimate Warrior when I was a kid. Like,
did you think it was the Ultimate Warrior?
Hype this shit up so much. I'm like, man, they got the Warrior. It's about to be on. Nope, the fucking Renegade. What the kind of shit? If there was ever a thing that was great value, it was the Renegade.
At what point did you realize that it was not the Ultimate Warrior? Do you remember that moment in time?
The moment he ran out, we knew. You couldn't even fool. It was like the moment he parted the curtains, we was like, that's not him. Oh man. Who is this? Dude. What in the world? Like, even though it was crazy, like, because back in the day, everybody thought, the Warrior was dead anyway, and there was a fake Warrior.
I see.
So we really thought, people started thinking like, well, maybe this is the fake Warrior. Nah. This was man. This was terrible.
You guys thought it was like a fake Undertaker angle, but with the Ultimate Warrior? Bro? Come on.
A fake Diesel, fake Razor Ramon.
I'm telling you for real, like, I can't remember. WrestleMania 8, right? When the Warrior came back, everybody thought that was a fake Warrior.
Was it not?
It won't. It was the real one. He just lost weight. He literally just lost weight. That's it. But everybody's like, oh, that's not him. He's too small to be the Warrior.
Yeah.
He got a haircut. He got a bob. Like, the Warrior don't have a bob. This is a fake. It's a phony.
At that point, he's just Warrior. There's nothing ultimate.
Warrior.
The Vampire Warrior is more ultimate than this guy. But So to summarize here, where we are, like in this moment in 1995, we have the Ultimate Warrior, who's not really wrestling at this point, but he exists, unfortunately. And then we have the Renegade in WCW, and now in ECW, we got Jim Steele, who is, and I quote from this show, a warrior of ultimate proportions.
missed that one. That's great though.
Well, it was the whole like it was a weird like encyclopedia like transition from match to match. I don't know what was going on. I was like, wait, are we seeing the real? I thought it was like, wait, is this the real Ultimate Warrior? Because what is Ultimate Warrior's real name? I forget. I mean, now it's like Warrior. I think he eventually changed it to it, but it was
Jim Hellwig.
Jim Hellwig.
Yes.
So, but when I was watching the show, I forgot what his name was, but I thought his first name was Jim. So I was like, wait, is this just Ultimate Warrior wrestling under his real name? So I was like, wait, we're gonna see Ultimate Warrior. We got Gangrel, now we have Ultimate Warrior. What is this? But it just like you when you were younger, Javon. I was expecting the Ultimate Warrior, and I got this bullshit that we got in front of our screen. So I felt your pain. I can sympathize.
Hey. He looks more of the warrior than the renegade.
You know what?
Fuck,
yeah. The renegade had his stupid bangs and his ridiculous paint and his he runs like this, like it's everything. Runs like he has a stick up his ass, this renegade. At least Jim Steele seemed like more of an actor. I don't know. But I did some research on this Jim Steele fella. Apparently, I mean, his Wikipedia is very short. There's not a lot to get into, but apparently he's a WCW power plant product. So I guess he started in WCW. Don't know if he did anything, if he did like enhancement stuff or what it is, or if he even made it that far. But he would go on to like work in Japan a little bit, but ultimately didn't really amount to much. But he's here right now in ECW. They figure, hey, well, WCW can rip off the Ultimate Warrior. Why not? Why can't we? So the match. Oh, by the way, Jim Steele, he's facing 911. So we know what this is going to be, and it's exactly what it was. Jim Steele, he fires up in the beginning. You know that classic Jim Steele, that energy that we all know and love. It was ultimate energy, some may say, but he runs towards 911, who's on the opposite corner of the ring. 911 evades, and Steele just stupidly runs into the corner and then gets chokeslammed, and then 911 wins. But wait, there's more. A second chokeslam, a third, a fourth. Wait, hold on. No, I'm sorry. I'm getting ahead of myself. There was a second chokeslam, right? And then a third one, because Paul Lee has the mic in his hand, because he's with 911, of course. The third chokeslam is dedicated to that company in Atlanta. The fourth is dedicated, they just said it, is dedicated to the Renegade. I think they said it. They definitely alluded to it, if nothing else. They basically said the guy that can't even imitate a decent gimmick. So that's what the fourth chokeslam is dedicated to. But remember, previously, they had previously set the record from the most chokeslams in a single night or in a single match or whatever. So now they're going to break that record once again with a fifth chokeslam dedicated to, anti-quote, Bill motherfucking Alfonso. And because Bill Alfonso, yeah, the guy is trying to ruin everything about ECW. But that fifth chokeslam is dedicated to. So, but as ridiculous as this all sounds, there are huge ECW chants after this. The crowd is into this whole thing. They're on fire, and Heyman goes out. He grabs a sign from somebody that says Alfonso is Vince's boy, which supports what you said, Javon, how he kind of represents WWF at the time. And then 911 takes the sign and chokeslams it, because why not?
Yes! Like, it's so, like, I could just imagine being there and be like, this is the greatest thing ever.
Dude, it didn't take much, but the crowd was hyped for it. Any other thoughts on this match, if you want to call it that?
Yeah.
It's a testament to how awesome Paulie Dangerously is, though.
Oh yeah,
like it basically, if you think about it, it kind of like opened the door for like this. I mean, granted, the Forbidden Door is not a thing in '95, but like you know, it kind of like opens this thing, because if he had dedicated those two chokeslams to WCW and to the Renegade and then to the gimmick, that kind of thing, that would have broke social media for the night.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, just think about it. Like if Twitter existed back then, it would be insane. It would have gotten over crazy.
Oh yeah. Yeah, 100%.
And that's where my mind went just immediately. I was like, okay, so when guys like Bryan Danielson, like they all, reference WWE, and of course AEW does this all the time. It's like, this is the same type of deal. ECW coming at WCW like this. It's just like, this is perfect. Like everything works, but without social media, it's like, it's only specific for this tape, and it's like, think about how much the greater scale would have been if Twitter was a thing back then. It's just
right.
crazy to think about.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. What about you, Javon? Were you on your rotary phone at the time calling all your friends, telling about this Ultimate Warrior in ECW? Or do you remember this at all?
Nah, I'm talking about the Warrior. Y'all can. It's the Renegade was enough. no reason to share Jungle Jim. Like we're gonna keep Jungle Jim quiet.
Jungle Jim. Oh, I forgot that was his nickname, wasn't it? Jungle Jim Steele. I was just so distracted by the nonsense that was happening in front of me that I forgot to mention that. But man, I'm looking at these matches that we're talking about, and not a lot of them last more than like a few seconds. But we gotta save all that time for the main event, I guess.
Right.
Yeah. So after that, we have some women's match. We have a women's match after that. Luna Vachon versus Beulah McGillicuddy, aka the Queen of Extreme versus the Penthouse Pet, is how they were announced. So this big hullabaloo. It was set up really well. You have Luna, who's on the side of like Tommy Dreamer, and then you have Beulah, who's on the side of Raven. So they're kind of representing those different factions, I guess. But the bell rings, and Stevie Richards gets in there and just cracks Luna in the back with a steel chair. Equality, right, guys? And Beulah makes the pin for the win. So, yeah, quite the match, right?
Hey, I mean, hey, look at how far we've come, right? We've gotten, girls take chair shots in '95. Then you get Tessa Blanchard winning the Impact title. It all pays it forward. I also forgot how crazy Stevie Richards was, like how like he played his gimmick to a T, like just running around with this, and then you see later with like the Raven match or with Raven's match too, like he's just so like he knows his role and he plays it so well. And I think that oftentimes like we forget, at least I know I oftentimes forget like just how important he is to like this character and to this little time.
Right, because I think of Blue World Order when I think of Stevie Richards and ECW. But
yeah, right.
Whatever he was going for here, I think it definitely worked, to your point.
Could you imagine, right, in this day and age, if there was like a show that had like the level of wrestling that this show has?
Yeah.
Like, yo, like really think about it. Like, we done had like 3 matches, all of them that ended within a minute.
Uh-huh.
If we put that on Monday Night Raw, man, they get killed. Like they would get killed. As good as it is, though, because it seems like everything really like is progressing a story.
Uh-huh.
It's not like anything just thrown out there just for the sake of throwing it out there. Everything that's happened is pretty much like kind of progressed the story.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been actually entertaining. But man, we wouldn't care. They would kill this on Twitter.
Yeah.
If we did this shit. Like
you thought the Queen's Crown tournament got a beating for having like 3-minute matches. How about an 8-second match and neither person even does a move and it's only a man that doesn't move?
And a man comes and hits a girl upside the head with a chair. Bruh.
It's equal opportunity chair shots. The CCW. They were ahead of the curve. And
nobody's safe.
Nobody's safe.
But I like the antics after this match though. Like, yes. I love it because like Luna gets her DDT from Raven, and then Dreamer shows up and he gets one too. Like
right.
They're rated E for everybody. And then you get the Pete Dunne wet dream, as I wrote it down, with the finger snaps, the finger spots on Tommy Dreamer's hand from Raven. And I'm like, yes, like this is so sick, And then And then it gets a little suspect, when he handcuffs Luna to the second rope and is going for that like
Don't
crucifix.
kink shame him. How dare
Kink
you?
shaming is my kink.
But yeah, like you said, yeah, like Tommy comes out, try to make the save. Does not work because both of them just get several DDTs and hitting that head with chairs and their fingers snapped, like you said. It just, yeah, like you said, the visual of Tommy, I think they're both handcuffed to the rope, right? Or is it just Luna?
It's just Luna.
Luna, that's right. Because she's on the outside on the floor and she's handcuffed to the second rope. But Raven just, I guess Raven tries to hit Luna with the chair, but Dreamer kind of like crawls in front to take the bullet. So, like the story they're kind of building there, and it was just a great visual. Like it's very like you could see the emotion in it, and the ridiculousness aside, I mean, it worked. The crowd was into it for sure. That's a common theme with the show, I guess. Just ridiculous stuff, but the crowd loves it because they're in Philly.
Right.
Just want to see some blood, then go get a cheesesteak or something, right? But
there it is.
Let's yeah. So after that, Tommy Dreamer was supposed to be in the next match, I guess. It was scheduled to be a 3-on-2 handicap match, or no, I guess 3-on-3, maybe.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be Taz, Too Cold Scorpio, and Tommy Dreamer versus Raven and the Pitbulls. But obviously, as per the previous beatdown, Tommy Dreamer is not able to compete. Hackmeyers tries to interject the Shah, remember, to try to become a part of this match, but Bill Alfonso comes out and says, "Hey, Hack, you're not a part of this match." That's kind of a little Sean. I can't deal with Bill Alfonso, but it says that Hack, you're not a part of this match. You can't be a part of it, so you're out of here. So ultimately, it's a 3-on-2 handicap match. So you got Raven and the Pitbulls versus Taz, Too Cold Scorpio. I should note this is actually the debut of Taz, because he previously was the Tasmaniac. He had the long hair, the Flintstones gear, the bare feet, like he was the Tasmanian devil. But now he's like, they're building him as like a shoot fighter. Like they're putting over all his credentials, his judo, black belt, and all that stuff. And he's just Taz. What was it was like 3 letters, same attitude or something. But so that's a thing. So he's newly shaved Taz, kind of a transition into what he would become, the legend that he would become in ECW. And Too Cold Scorpio, shout out to him. I think he's still going at it today. Whoop, there it is.
We love a good Too Cold Scorpio. We love He's got one of the top 10 theme songs of all time. Like, let's be honest.
How'd that go again?
So it's got that nice bass line, and I can't remember the lyrics off the top of my head right now.
Yes, you can.
But I
Don't
just
lie to
remember
me.
we have a whole thing. Because each year for Black History Month, we've done like we've reflected on African American wrestlers from history, and I remember Tehran did one about Too Cold, and we played it as our outro, and it was so great. But it was unanimously decided that his theme is a top 10 all time banger.
Right. I'm more of a flash funk guy myself, but to each their own.
That was a good one too.
Respect.
But so Pitbulls, so they got the 3-on-2 advantage. So the Pitbulls dominate on Taz for a little bit, but Scorpio eventually gets the hot tag. He's super kicking everybody. Scorpio has one of the most beautiful moonsaults of all time. Hits it onto Pitbull number 2, and then Taz hits a suplex onto Pitbull number 1. But there's a whole thing where like Scorpio was trying to do a 450 on him, but Taz picked him up and suplexed him. So they're like, "Hey, I was gonna do the thing." So they have a little kerfuffle there. But ultimately, it doesn't matter. The Pitbulls do take advantage of this, but Raven, at one point, he just leaves. Did you guys catch why Raven left?
Oh my God, he was like,
I think Stevie was like like flirting with a girl ringside, and Raven's like, "Hey, you don't do that."
It's
So
he was flirting with Francine. So that's the beginning of that.
Was that who that was?
Yes, because they ended up having a whole little love triangle.
Yeah,
a love thing.
Well, it's to be fair, right? She has the sign that says "I love Stevie Richards" or something along that line, and Paul Heyman points her out and is like, "Some people have no taste," quote unquote. Just completely joking her, and I'm like, "That's hilarious." And then obviously Stevie comes over and they start talking and stuff. So that's why. See, I was kind of confused at that too. I thought it was more about the Pitbulls than it was about Stevie Richards. That makes way more sense though.
Yeah,
man, I'm learning so much on this podcast. It's amazing. But yeah, the Pitbulls, they see Raven and Stevie walk to the back, and they're obviously very disturbed by this, because they're basically, Raven is their master at this point. They I forgot to bring it up, but at the beginning of this match, it cuts to everybody's like on their knees bowing to Raven. The Pitbulls and Stevie are all on their knees. So the Pitbulls, or I guess they're on a leash, some may say, of Raven. And they go for the super bomb onto Taz, but Taz fights out and hits a belly-to-belly suplex off the top rope for the win. So Taz and Too Cold Scorpio get the win. So it was more than 5 seconds, which is more than I can say about most matches on this show. And it was fun, I thought, with the storyline implications and Francine apparently debuting, which is a cool little wrinkle to it. So it was fun.
I loved it.
Yeah.
And then you get the you get that belly to belly suplex, the superplex basically off the top rope to finish the match too for Taz. It's so cool to like go back and like watch Taz and see like that aura around him, like that magnanimous, like he's just here to kick ass, throw you around and take names, and the crowd like loves it. Like and then, we always talk about dream matches and stuff. Like if we could get 95 Taz versus like 98 Kurt Angle, like just debuting like the All-American type deal, that would have been like a dream match. I know that we've gotten it, in regular like tapings, like on SmackDown and stuff.
Well,
but, like
that Taz's debut was against Kurt Angle in 2000, which is a little bit later, but I think it's pretty close to their peaks.
Had Raven not fucked things up, we may would have gotten it at ECW. So, bastard.
Oh man, that is wow. How different things would be if that didn't happen. Because that was what Raven was. Did Sandman crucify Raven, or did Raven crucify Dreamer? I forget who the players there.
Raven crucified Sandman.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And then Kurt dips, right? He didn't even stay for the
initial. He was like, "Oh hell no, I'm out. I'm coming."
Yeah, right. He called Vince in the car ride home.
Straight to his loving arms. It's like, I told you about them.
Make the bad man stop.
Yeah, right. It's basically, what happens with Gable Stevenson showing up at GCW. Like, it's the same type of deal, right?
Yeah.
Not that he did or anything. That's not canon. But if he did,
let's make that a thing.
Let's
spread that rumor.
He got scared by the Matt Cardona match and just was like, "No, I'm okay. Later,
dude."
God, yeah, that was something. I wonder if Kurt Angle ever saw the when Undertaker crucified Stone Cold. I was
right. Went after Stephanie McMahon.
Oh man, that's like one of my first memories of wrestling. That gave me nightmares for years. But yeah, it is what it is. But after that, so a match that was scheduled was at the ECW Tag Team Championship. We have the champions, the Public Enemy, versus Axel Rotten and a mystery partner. And Axel, he gets on the mic. Axel Rotten's like one of the only guys that could cut a promo at this point in ECW, which isn't saying much, but he's a level above everybody else. But he's on the mic. He has his barbed wire bat, and he's like, the only guy worthy of being my partner is my brother, Ian Rotten. And are you guys familiar with the battles between Axel Rotten and Ian Rotten?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's because I think the show after this is the Taipei death match.
Which
is the one where they have like glass taped to their wrist tape, right? That's like one of the most bloody battles that's ever occurred. But before that happened, they had several matches before this. They had barbed wire bat matches, barbed wire chair matches. They had like a blindfold match. I don't know. They had a bunch of wacky, gimmicky matches, but they were all violent. They were all, I don't know. They're just, it's like the Nasty Boys fighting each other. It's like, what are we doing? But again, the crowd, those matches kind of played towards the live crowd, I think, more so than people watching on tape, because again, it's a lot of crowd interaction, a lot of fighting in the crowd, lots of blood, all that blood and gore that the crowd is hungry for. So, and they gave it to him. But here, Axel's swerving us, and now Ian's going to be his partner. But wait, Bill Alfonso is back, and he's reminding them that they a few months ago had a tag team match where Ian and Axel were teaming together, and the stipulation was whoever lost that tag match could no longer team together. And of course, the Rottens lost that match, therefore they couldn't team together, and then they had all those matches against each other, and that's how that's all kind of played out. Right. I mean, Bill Alfonso's kind of in the right here. I mean, that is what happened. You got to bring some sort of sanctity to this company. But yeah, Bill's like, if you team together, I'm gonna shut down this show. And then crowd hates it, big ECW chants. But Axel's like, well, I'm gonna give you guys your money's worth, and if I can't fight the Public Enemy, I'm gonna fight my brother. And then he just slugs Ian, who was gonna be his partner, and then they fucking fight into the crowd. It's like, wow, we're back to this. But then so the Rottens scurry off into the crowd fighting each other, which leaves the Public Enemy in the ring alone. So they're doing the day. Did you guys like the Public Enemy? Nah, not like this whole deal, right? Come on, Javon. Read the thumbnail.
We didn't like it then.
Dude, everybody that I've had on my podcast talk about ECW, everybody hates the Public Enemy. I think there's just some good, fun-loving guys just dancing, right?
Well, I'll say this: I love the Public Enemy. I just hated the dance. I just hated the hand waving. That gave me some, like, that made me think of somebody that WWF would have, and that's some stuff they would do.
Are you serious? Jungle Boy's right there.
Huh?
Jungle Boy's right there.
Oh, there it is, and I hate it for him too. Him too. Like, yeah.
Come on, guys. Come on, the reprise. 2022. Like,
he came to Norfolk. Don't pretend like you weren't dancing along with him.
Come on, yeah, exactly, Javon.
I won't. I was watching all of you.
Such a heel through and through.
Gosh.
Oh, God. Well, the Public Enemy, much to your chagrin, Javon, is they're dancing. The Hop Stepper, the classic stuff. But then...
Good song, though.
It is. But apparently New Jack didn't like the song because him and Mustafa debut here are the Gangstas. Big moment, because they would be huge in ECW. So the Gangstas rush the ring, attack the Public Enemy with steel pipes, bloody both Rocco Rock and Johnny Grunge. They're both bloody. They set up a table in the ring. The Gangstas do, and they like put Rocco Rock on the table. I guess they wanted to do something off the top rope onto him, but Rocco Rock is a big fella, so the table just caved under him. But it was like, I think if I remember correctly, it was just like one leg of it like caved. So New Jack was like, let's go to the top rope anyways and do a splash, and he did, and it looked fine. So puts Rocco Rock through the half table, but then to quote Joey Styles, Philadelphia's finest, the police, they come out and arrest the Gangstas. They both get taken out in cuffs, and thoughts?
Well, I want to rewind a little bit to I think it was Styles, and he's like, they don't even work here. It's like, yeah, we got it. Like, we know.
Context clues, we figured that one out.
right. Oh my God, it's so. But it plants the seed. I mean, and then it kind of foreshadows to New Jack's real life problems later on and stuff. But it also breeds that New Jack awesome career that's about to unfold right before our eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Like almost killing that poor guy. Oh, what's his name? Javon, who was that guy he threw off?
Vic Grimes?
Was it Vic
Yeah.
Grimes? Yeah. Yep, that's New Jack for you. But we love the gangsters here. Like, we love them.
It's the gangstas, actually.
Sorry, excuse me, gangstas.
Yeah.
Yes.
Come on now.
Sorry.
But
I miss when actual police officers used to come to the ring and just hit people and arrest them. You don't get that in wrestling anymore. It's like they send those goofy ass security and they just stand there, act like they don't want to grab nobody. Nah, back in the day, the cop come and
please stop.
Let's go. Hey, I'm gonna handcuff you. Let's go.
No, that's a good point though. Like think about the effect that like the cops had on like Steve Austin's, getting arrested and stuff like that. Like it adds that extra layer of authenticity.
Or the NWO too.
Mm-hmm.
It was a big part of it.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it like that to me just makes such a difference. Now you get like guys like enhancement talent that wear security shirts and they just get in the middle of it. It's just like just
get thrown around and everything, and it's like, well, what's the point of having security if they're gonna get beat up every time?
If they're little bitch boys, what do you need it for?
Right, exactly.
Wasn't like
just...
MJF a security guy at some point? Like
yeah, he was.
Like Bobby Roode, I think he was one like early, like way back in the day. It's just funny, like those little Easter eggs that used, like Keith Lee was one, although that's a legit security guard.
True.
But so that sets up the Gangstas and the Public Enemy, and I think they would go on to have a pretty significant feud to finish out the year. But well, that brings us to the main event. We got the ECW World Heavyweight title on the line in a barbed wire match. The champion, the Sandman, versus Cactus Jack. So to set the scene for anybody unaware of what a barbed wire match is, they replace the ropes with barbed wire. So I guess it's what is that what AEW did, or did they have ropes plus barbed wire?
So no, they had
they like draped it over the ropes, I think.
Yeah, they had it wrapped around them, if I remember correctly, for the exploder.
Yeah, right. But here it's just nothing but barbed wire. God, it's just like, hey, what's the most violent thing we can think of? Oh yeah, let's just surround the ring with barbed wire and make it happen. But so Cactus, he gets right in there. He just walks through the barbed wire. He's like, I'm ready to wrestle. Then we got the Sandman with his stupid, like he says, Lex Luger sweatpants. Man, never gonna.
And he's got Jordans on. like
well, he's an athlete after all.
Yeah, oh yes,
at the end of the day.
He's a premier athlete.
He's the world champion.
Like
Jacob.
That's true. That's very true. They got to get that stipend. They got to get that pay bump so he can get better shoes. God damn it.
Checks in the mail. He'll get it eventually. But the Sandman, he's like very, very timid. He doesn't want to get in there. This is kind of early. Sandman, he would eventually be like the badass, smashing beer cans on his head. And we got a little bit of that here. He comes into the ring. He's smoking a cigarette. He has the kendo stick. He has a beer in his hand. He's like the epitome of like, oh, he's the everyday guy. Like if he can do this, I could do this. People watching in the crowd. But eventually, Sandman gets in the ring very timidly, but he slides out immediately and cracks open a beer and lights a cigarette, which I think we need more of that in current wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
That's a Moxley thing, right? Well, maybe not now, but maybe like 2 years ago.
Too soon.
Yeah, sorry, I'm sorry, everybody. Sorry.
He'll crack.
He's just the only guy I could think of that would do something.
Oh yeah, no, kick a guy while he's down. No, fine. That's right. That's what you do.
God damn it!
This is the words of the hardest part of the ring podcast, not the
canceled. Canceled. It's over for me, fellas.
Moxley, can you crack open a Heineken Zero? What are they called? Like the
you go.
Why don't we just something?
We could just throw him a Dr. Pepper. Here you go.
There we go. Like, that'll get over. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, it is what it is. It's not. When I think of a barbed wire match, I think of Sabu versus Terry Funk, right? That was the one that was in like 97. I think that's when they kind of figured it out. But here it's kind of like, I don't know how many I'm sure Cactus had some in Japan. Maybe Sandman had some, I don't know. But this is definitely the early stage of this. And you got, suplexing each other onto the barbed wire. You got there's this loose strands of barbed wire all over the place, and they're choking each other with it. At one point, Sandman, he like atomic drops Cactus Jack onto the barbed wire, which, look, how many pairs of genitals have been destroyed just in one show? Like, what are we? No one's having kids. No, there's no little ECWers coming out of this show.
Yeah, could you imagine? Jesus. I mean, Noel's still around. Noel's around, right? So it must not have been that bad.
Yeah.
But still, like, oh gosh.
Yeah.
And then, like, not even to mention, but before that, you had when he just dropped him on the ropes and just collapsed that side of the ring.
Yeah, there's like a front suplex, right? And just
right? Just drops him out and just falls out. Like, oh man, like I cringed at that too. I was like, oh, that sucks.
It's like, because like, I mean, I'm assuming it's real barbed wire, but even if it's not, like, how much could you fake? Like it's a sharp something, just wrapping around your whole body. Like it can't be good. At one point, I think it's Sandman. He pulls out like a roll of barbed wire from under the ring, as if there just isn't enough. Throws it in the ring. I think he sends Jack chest first into it. Sandman leg drops him on top of it. But Cactus Jack fights back. He finds some wire cutters. Thank God. And cuts some of the barbed wire off from around the ring and takes it and chokes Sandman with it. Then whips out a chair and hits Sandman in the head with it like 3 times, I think. And then I was a little confused at what happened here. And apparently there's like some sort of 10 count, or like the ref kind of deemed Sandman as knocked out. So it seems like at this point, Cactus Jack wins, new ECW champion. But oh wait, Bill Alfonso's back. He says that the title can't change hands on a 10 count. So the match will continue. And him and the ref, Bill Alfonso, and the ref for this match, they go at it. But as this is all happening, Sandman comes from behind Cactus with a strand of barbed wire, like a loose strand, and wraps it around his throat and his face. And this is probably the most brutal spot. He like has his face wrapped in barbed wire and just chucks him into the wall of barbed wire that's on the other side of the ring. And Jack just goes cascading through it, like all the way through it, all into the floor. And then, but wait, Bill Alfonso now deems that Cactus Jack is knocked out and that he can't continue. Now the title can't change hands on a knockout, but you can sure as hell retain it, I guess. So see, he deems Sandman the winner. And so Sandman wins, I guess. And this causes Todd Gordon to come out. Him and Bill Alfonso again are like, they're at odds. It's like, who has the authority here? And Bill Alfonso gives Todd Gordon a clothesline and then runs away. So then you have Cactus he cuts the Cactus and he's in the ring on his knees and he's just wrapped in barbed wire, like from the head to his toe. He's wrapped in barbed wire. He's like, what happened? And then that's how the show ends. So lots of chaos, but it's very ECW. What do you guys think about it?
That's how you end the show. Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
What happens next? Tune in next week.
That's true.
It's true, but it's like, I don't know. Like, if you think about it, like today, right? If WWE does those like false DQ finishes for pay-per-view finishes for like the minor ones from time to time, and they're like, yeah, you're going to tune in on Raw to see the fallout. You're going to tune in on Raw to see the fallout. And then Monday night comes around and you're like, am I? Like, am I just to see like another run-in type DQ type stuff? And you're just like, no, like I just can't do it, especially after like the third pay-per-view in a row where, MVP gets involved and Lashley retains, or vice versa, or Roman Reigns and the bloodline get involved. And then you get this, and it's like, don't get it wrong, like that was a 30-minute match of just gore and great. So like I would have left that happy because I got to see like some crazy stuff, and like I'm into that. But at the same time, like you got to feel so bad for Cactus, and that's what they're going for. But with a main event like this, it makes up for the lackluster first half of the pay-per-view. But there's also kind of a piece of me that's like, well, we still didn't get any like conclusions here. It was just kind of like a stopgap show to build towards other things.
Yeah. Little blue balled from the show. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, just a tad. Like I'll take care of it later on. Like I'll take care of it later today, right? But in the meantime, I'm gonna get that ache, as I'm walking around.
Those little stomach cramps. Yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah, right. But I wanted to talk about this too, because we're talking about fun items, throughout the show. Let's not forget about the cheese grater spot for this Sandman match. Just another kitchen item somebody stole from their parents' house and just put it in there.
Do you think they like brought it back? It was like, oh, it's tomato juice on it, I think.
Well, I don't know if they got it back. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you know what?
I don't know if I'd want it back. I'd be like, I'm okay.
It's got Sandman scrotum on it. It's like, wow, I don't think we need this anymore.
Yeah, right. Then another thing too that I thought was kind of cool was like, ROH is famous for ribbons, and so is in New Japan and stuff like that. They're famous for throwing ribbons. ECW fans were throwing trash and chairs into this ring during the main event. Yeah. That is so amazing. Like it's just so oh my gosh, like that atmosphere is something that it kind of mimics like what AEW fans would do if they were just crazy.
Right. If they had the balls to do it, right?
Right. So I implore all AEW fans, next time we'll throw our $100 chairs into the ring.
They're just trying to help out their favorites in the ring. So we can't hate them for that. Man. Well, that brings Barbed Wire, Chokeslams, and Hoodies to a close, ladies and gentlemen. With Cactus as barbed wire in his hair. It's your last visual. But yeah, any other last final thoughts about on the show in general, ECW in general, or anything else?
Did anyone see any hoodies throughout the show?
Man, I saw a lot of Chokeslams. I saw Barbed
Wire. Got your money's worth for 2/3 of it. Like, where's my hoodie? Like,
wow, I'm gonna have to review the tapes because I think I might have been duped. Well, I got the hoodie, so if anything else,
there it is.
It's a hoodie here. Well, minus that, it was it's kind of like it's kind of a transitionary show, I guess. But I guess in a world of like buying tapes, you're always gonna buy the next tape, especially if you're in Philly or whatever, whoever's watching ECW at this point. But yeah. Fun time. And once again, thank you guys for checking out the show and coming on here to talk about it. Great time with you guys. Why don't you tell everybody where they can find you guys and listen to you guys?
Yeah, so you guys can find us on Instagram at the hardest part of the ring with an _. You can find us on Twitter to talk to Javon and myself directly at @thehardest_pod. And then, of course, you can find us wherever you stream your podcasts, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spreaker, you name it, we're there. So feel free to come on over. And Kyle, man, thanks so much for having us on. This was a lot of fun. Of course.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll do some cross stuff. Maybe we'll have you come on one of our Thursday shows, if you're free.
Be happy to. Yeah, absolutely.
Let's do it.
Might as well. Well, I'll forgive you guys for taking my original podcast name. You guys are lucky you're cool guys. So there's no cease and desist letter coming your way.
Hey, don't worry about it. We took it from some English guys anyway, so we're both getting cease and desist. Don't even worry about it, buddy. We had to work that out a long time ago.
I forgot all about that. What a what a travesty. We ruined these guys' lives.
Man, that's on them. The cream rises to the top, as they say.
We're just some of the biggest heels in the wrestling media, I guess.
That's what they say.
Hey, that's a whoa. Ease
This
up.
guy.
No, we're not. We're nice guys. Like, biggest heels. Like, we're bigger than Ryback.
Well,
Bubba
at
Ray
least-
Dudley.
At least there's that.
Not Bubba Ray Dudley. That's your claim to fame.
That's the new tagline. We're better than Ryback.
Once again, thank you to Jacob and Javon from the Hardest Part of the Ring podcast for joining me today to cover another insane ECW pay-per-view event, whatever you want to call it, premium live event. I guess it's not a pay-per-view, but it is premium and it is live. So, Barbed Wire, Hoodies, and Chokeslams. What a show! What a low-key monumental show that this was for ECW in hindsight. So, once again, go check out the Hardest Part of the Ring podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. All their info in the description below, and check me out, why don't you, at apronbump.com. You can find all my social media there, everywhere you can consume the Apron Bump. And you can find that as well in the description with everything else. So if you like these ECW reviews, if you're hungry for more Barbed Wire and Luna Vachon and Tommy Dreamer hitting people with toilet lids, if you're into that kind of stuff, go to apronbump.com. Go to the episodes tab at the top and select ECW, and that'll bring you to all of the ECW shows that I have recapped thus far, starting from their very first Extreme Championship Wrestling show, November to Remember, 1994, all the way to now, in the summer of 95. So it's quite the journey. It's quite the lots of roadblocks and barbed wire and glass shards on the way, but it's a journey. A very entertaining one. Some of the most fun shows to talk about. So go check that out, as well as all my other full episodes. Check out the YouTube, and yeah. Where else? That's about it, I guess, huh? I think I've given you enough today. I've made my. I think I've given you all of me. So who's harder, huh? Is it me or the THP? OTR podcast? Man, I just had a stroke trying to think of what the letters were, what the acronym was for that podcast. Good thing I don't call myself that. But yeah, that's about all Poppy has for you today. So thank you guys once again for listening. I appreciate you all. I appreciate the support that you all give this podcast. It means a lot. And if I could kiss you all on the forehead, I would. So you'll just have to settle for this. Okay. Sometimes I just don't know how to end episodes. Thank you guys once again for listening. I love you all. I'm hard.
Yeah.
The hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is. Standing strong and proud, nothing not this. Let's get it started. It's the hardest, talk around and disregard it. Strip you off the ground, show you what hard is.